Now more than ever, we'll be able to use the Hebrew blessing, Admead Vesum Shana. May you live to 120. All right. What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Longevity Talks, our show that's going to help you understand what's happening with advances in technologies and discussions that are going to be lasting for ages. Pun intended. Tonight, we have a very, very powerful topic on one of, if not the most groundbreaking products in the decade. But not only that, we're going to be discovering a little more, not get so sciencey with it, but we are going to break some, peel a little bit of some layers. And we have tonight an amazing special guest who, to me, is an honor to be able to even be on a virtual stage with him. This time, he's on a whole next level. And we're going to be talking about different stuff that's happening with longevity. If you haven't heard about it, unless you're living under a rock, longevity is like one of, if not the most trending topic right now. People are, from the beginning of mankind, from the beginning of Methuselah and even Juan Ponce de Leon, and everybody wants to find a way to extend lifespan and be able to have a better lifestyle, but not just get old and be all frail, but be able to enjoy a quality of life. And in today's world, where we're living in such an era of innovation, we have in our hands one of the biggest discoveries in prevention science that is causing a rage all over the world. And in our hands also, with that combined, now in today's technology, they're combining it with one of the most trending supplements out there, NMN. We won't get too techy on that aspect. At least I won't. I'm not an expert in that area. I failed biology. I didn't continue with genomics, so I do not know much about this. But with me tonight is the expert, the man who not only has an incredible knowledge and an incredible experience in science, but he has an encyclopedic knowledge with transfer factor molecule, which is what actually enhances this type of supplements tonight that are going to help you extend proven as stay to the end, because we have some clinical studies you're going to be bringing out that they're not being shown out there. You're going to get them on here. First night, first time, you are right here live. So don't go anywhere. Please help me welcome the man who has actually been involved with all these formulations and product developments for 20 years of experience. He's also a dietitian. He's been part of the baby steps and also the growth of our company for life, but also he's also behind closed doors, and he knows what's going on with this company, where we're headed, and what of a big impact this is going to be causing in today's world for longevity, where at the end you're going to learn Hebrew blessing, Admead Vesum Shana. May you live to 120. Please help me welcome the man, the myth, the legend, the walking encyclopedic knowledge, Dr. Brent Vaughn. What's going on, man?
Hey, Omar, it's a pleasure to be with everyone tonight. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here, man. I know if you probably recognize this shirt at the 80s party, the last convention. It was awesome. I remember seeing you. So tonight, we're going to go a few questions that I probably have for you in store. I hope you're prepared for them. I hope they're okay. They're not out of this world, and I'm pretty sure you have the answer for all of them, because you're the man. But first off, I want to welcome you to our community, that we are at the forefront on the frontier of what's happening in longevity science, and you have first eyes and first hand on these developments that are going on. Is that correct?
Yeah, if not, I can pretend well.
Well, it's an honor to be here with you tonight. So let's begin with a few questions on our new product and how we can understand to begin to prevent what we would call a biological apocalypse. We'll get into that later. So can you start by explaining to our audience real quick, briefly, what are human sirtuins?
Well, that's a fairly large group of enzymes. And to kind of simplify it down, you would say that they're enzymes involved in metabolism. But I think that kind of sells them a bit short. They do manage the way that your body utilizes energy and digest your food and that stuff. That's generally metabolism. However, sirtuins seem to be more involved in those parts of metabolism that deal with aging. And so, obviously, in order for us to grow and develop and whatnot, you have to be able to metabolize the foods and nutrients that you consume. And part of the way that you do that is through sirtuins, which then these particular ones in just really relatively recent research have been shown to modify how those metabolic processes then can tie into, I guess the best way to put it is the speed at which you age. So by modifying these particular enzymes, you have an ability to change how your body ages.
That's very, very interesting. And this is something that has been, out there for quite a while. But in recent longevity studies, a lot of people don't have quite even the understanding of it because it's fairly new per se. It's been maybe
Mhm.
about a decade that this began deep in this longevity science, but it has been, studied for years because for decades before in other organisms like in yeast, like in worms and mice. But now we understand that there's also these human sirtuins that are responsible for certain gene behaviors or certain what they call gene behavior, gene expression. And that leads me to the next question real quick. What are stacks? Moving on to this, which is fascinating. Can you tell us about stacks? Since we're talking about sirtuins, let's involve a little bit the stacks. What are they? And what compounds are these? Why are they so important?
And so STAX is an acronym for sirtuin activating compounds. And so just as that name kind of suggests, obviously these are things that activate the sirtuin enzymes that we just talked about. And so there's a lot of things that have shown different levels of activity. And I kind of highlight just a couple of them. And these are ones that are actually the ones that we chose to go into the Age Pro product that we'll talk about a little bit more and go through the research, as you mentioned at the end. But as a broad class, you have some things called flavonoids. And this is a 500,000 somewhat different compounds that are found in fruits and vegetables. And you also, probably the most well-known of these is one called quercetin. Most people are probably familiar with that, and it's gotten a lot of press the last few years as an antioxidant, but lately as one of these sirtuin activating compounds. So that's probably the most well-known one, and it falls into that flavonoid category. The other one we've selected for this product is called apigenin. So it's kind of a cousin, if you will, to the quercetin in that same general category, but these two have probably some of the most biggest number of studies backing them up in terms of sirtuin activation and anti-aging. And there's a lot of other ones out there that we could pick from, and the research varies between those, as does the price of them. And so the quercetin and the apigenin were the ones we picked because they seem to have the best quality and the highest number of studies in terms of sirtuin activation, anti-aging, as well as they were readily available and relatively affordable to put into the products.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. So basically, these stacks are the ones responsible for activating. That's where the acronym comes. Activating the sirtuins that actually are these enzymes that are responsible for the gene expression and behavior in our bodies. That's pretty amazing. That's something that it fascinates me. I'm a newbie to all this. I'm not near. I'm in diapers learning all this stuff, but it really fascinates me. One, because uh, my mom went through a process of cancer. She went through stage 4 cancer. That's when I started digging into a little bit more of how the body functions, what are the causes of all this stuff, and it took me down this rabbit hole since 2014 and beyond. And I started looking into different stuff, and I started seeing where I am, what the company is having given us in our hands, how the company is ahead of the curve of everything that's happening out there. Even just to make a little parenthesis, even with when we talk about resveratrol, ashwagandha, all this stuff that's been actually named or considered to be part of also some type of anti-aging properties per se, but you guys were also working with Real Vita from the beginning. So we look at, all this stuff that's popping out now. For Life has been at the frontier for years, and it blows my mind because I'm like, I just can't, like, I can't explain to somebody how amazed I am and how awe of this incredible company and you being part of it, being ahead of the whole team, which you've been there for years. But now to continue, what about now we talked about sirtuins and the sirtuins activators. Now, because my mom went to the cancer stage, I learned about something called cytokines also. And cytokines are in our body. They're produced because of these cells, right? That they are dying. They're kind of dead, but they refuse to die. It's called zombie cells. So, what are these? And we hear a lot about in medical discussions, cytokine storms. This is used a lot also in immunology. What exactly are cytokines? That was part of the cytokine storm.
All right, let's try again. So the cytokine storm is really kind of an over a response, I guess, for your immune system. And what happens is the immune cells just start pumping these out almost nonstop, and you get huge amounts of them. And the downside to that is it's basically more than your body can handle. And your immune system, for all intents and purposes, in the worst case, will end up killing you. And so you're basically just flooding the immune system with all of these messages, so much so that it can't handle it. It's causing inflammation and stress, raising your blood pressure and all sorts of other things unnecessarily. And it just overwhelms the body to the point where either you get very sick or in the worst case, it can be fatal. And so having a properly balanced and resilient immune system can help improve your chances of avoiding that kind of response.
That's powerful. And if correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is where the in science today they coined that term inflammaging because of these cytokine storms are causing so much inflammation that they're actually aging people inside out.
Yeah, and even long-term chronic low levels of inflammation will still hasten the aging process.
That is powerful. Well, speaking of this longevity, we know that now it's interesting because transfer factors and transferceutical science is beginning to get a bit more attention, and you're kind of getting into the spotlight in modern science and studies, especially in the context of this longevity. Why do they play now in today's world? Where I know you read or heard the lifespan from Dr. David Sinclair, and he was talking about in the future there has to be the doctors will find a molecule that will able to transfer the what they call genetic noise to the cells so they can actually give the information. This is so amazing because they're talking about the future. The future is now. We are the future. So why do they play such a big role in this area of longevity, transfer factors specifically?
Well, like just about everything else your body does, your immune system is involved, right? And we talk about the inflammaging that you mentioned. Inflammation is one of the actions of your immune system. That is how it deals with infection or other types of immune response. Inflammation is a very generic term that describes a number of things that, for the most part, is all driven by different immune processes, and those cytokines are a key part of that. And as I kind of mentioned just a minute ago, transfer factors are there to kind of help balance out that immune response because you want a strong, resilient, vibrant immune system, but you don't want it always fighting. It needs to be able to rest when there's no threats, but respond quickly when there is, and then calm right back down once the threat is dealt with. And so by having the extra balancing and education that comes with transfer factors, you're giving your immune system that knowledge, helping it to be more resilient and to maintain that balance.
That balance is the crucial part, that modulation. Last night we were having a call with Dr. Ronnie. We were talking about how a lot of people are suffering autoimmune disease. Autoimmune disease could be, or they usually happen with a reaction of the inflammation with the immune system is too high. So it's hyperactive, but it's out of whack. So it's actually attacking the own tissue and attacking your own body. So we don't want it to get extreme. We want it to have it modulated. And that's where transfer factor science, transferceutical science comes in to give us that beautiful balance that keeps it there, but it's resilient. Like if you mess with it, it's gonna take it down. So that's also good to know. It's not just there relaxing, it's there modulated.
Right.
But whenever it sees any threats, it's gonna go at it. And that's pretty amazing.
Exactly.
So speaking on longevity, right? Now let's go into the nitty gritty of the beauty of the baby, of the company's new baby, right? Has been touted as a game changer. It seems like a very promising future in today's longevity science with the company's new baby, H Pro. Can you elaborate on a little bit on why is this going to be what I would call a game changer, and why is this completely different from any other NMN supplements in the market? And yeah, I said it.
Yeah, of course. So yeah, you kind of mentioned the key ingredient there. That's the NMN. And I kind of neglected to mention, we were talking about the sirtuins earlier. Those are all NAD dependent enzymes. Right? NAD is actually the active form of vitamin B3. So there's your little party trivia that you can use next time you're hanging out with the group. But NAD is key for aging. And for the sirtuin enzymes in particular, you have to have NAD present in order for them to work or function properly. Now, unfortunately, you can't consume NAD. It would be broken down in the digestive process. And so even though it's present in plants and animals and everything else, you don't get any of it by eating any of those things. And so what we do is we go back a couple steps in the synthetic process that your body uses to make NAD, and NMN is a couple steps back. And so you're giving the building block to your body for NAD. And there's plenty of studies showing, and I'll talk about one that we have done ourselves, showing that by taking NMN, you are actually increasing NAD levels. So thereby you're activating those sirtuin enzymes, and NAD is a key component in your energy cycles within every cell of the body. So you're providing extra energy for everything, and you're activating those sirtuin enzymes as well. So that's kind of the most important ingredient in the product, and the one that Dr. Sinclair and a number of other folks have talked about as kind of being the little poster child, if you will, for anti-aging. You also have some AKG, alpha ketoglutarate, that is in the product. And that one kind of goes on the other side of I guess you wouldn't call it on the other side, but it kind of stands next to NMN, right? You want something that's going to kind of slow the aging process, or the way we've kind of chosen to frame it is reprogram your aging. But you don't want to just age slower. You want to age well. You want to maintain a high level of activity, of cognitive function. You don't want to be 98 and laying in bed all day. You want to be out hiking, enjoying your family, all those other things. And so there's the whole, you want to live a long life, but you want to live a good quality life at the same time. AKG is there to kind of help with that, as is another component called a white button mushroom that we put in here. And just really quickly, this is a unique ingredient that is only found in the 4Life Age Pro product. It is a custom extract made specifically for us. It is high in a compound called spermidine. And I won't use the big fancy term for what it does, but in a nutshell, what it does is it aids the immune system largely, but some other aspects of other systems as well, in recycling, right? So as cells in the body age, your body has a process where it can get rid of the old cells and recycle the contents in making new ones. And so it's not really anything going to waste, right? So the dead cell is recycled into something new. And the white button mushroom extract in the H Pro product aids the body in that recycling process. So you're kind of getting rid of, like the zombie cells that you mentioned, right? So your body's trying to remove those because they're not helping. In fact, they're kind of hurting things as well. So having that white button mushroom extract aids the body in being able to do that process. So you're slowing the aging, you're aiding in the quality of your life, you're also helping in the recycling. And then we talked about the quercetin and the apigenin, which are those sirtuin activators again, so aiding with that kind of metabolic aspect of aging. And then, of course, the transfer factor as the immune support part of it, because just like every other cell in the body, your immune system ages too. And it's benefited by all of those other ingredients. And of course, the transfer factor helping to maintain the health of the immune system. Because as you maintain the health of your immune system, you free up additional resources for every other body system. And so it is a very unique product. It is something that you're not going to find anywhere else. You certainly can get NMN lots of places, and AKG, you'll see those and a few other things. And quercetin's all over the place, but the white button mushroom extract and the transfer factor, you're only going to find those in the 4Life product.
That's powerful, Brad, because I've been looking at stuff out there. There's a guy called Brian Johnson. He's a billionaire. He's done blood infusion. He's done everything possible to rejuvenate, right? Basically, slow his aging and all that stuff. And it fascinates me to see how you're explaining the recycling of even when they use like from the vitamin B form that turns or is a precursor of the NAD, which boosts all their metabolic actions, everything in our cells, and it continues with the white button mushroom. Is that correct? And then they recycle that, so it's still going to use more. That to me right there's like the complete pack of regeneration in our cells. Because yeah, we have cells that die every day, but how about we use what's in there to actually have it useful? That right there, that's fascinating. That really pumped me up. Now with all these advancements happening and in today's world, and like I was mentioning about Brian Johnson, he spends about $2 million a year. When we look at H Pro, and there's probably people curious about, wait, when should I do this? Who do you think should be taking H Pro?
Anyone that might possibly age or anyone that's concerned about aging. So, other than you, Omar, probably most of the rest of us.
Awesome. At the recent convention back in April, we had a panel of the doctors, the panelists, and one of the doctors were saying and comparing, transfer factors as the software of our body, right? And I remember he mentioned going into that how this actually is just alert all the time, but it's also like kind of like reinvented itself inside because it finds different patterns, it finds different pathogens, so it's constantly gaining knowledge, and it's a software it's just getting up that update. As we get in that, how do we keep this software updated for present and future potential threats, down the road, but in our body? How do we keep this updated?
Well, the best way I know how to do it would be to borrow the education and the software, if you will, from cows and chickens. They are out in an environment that's much dirtier and more difficult than us, and quite frankly, animal immune systems are much more robust than ours. And so we can take what they have learned and the knowledge they have amassed in the environments they grow up in, and our bodies can use that same knowledge, right? So by using the transfer factors, you're able to upgrade your software by benefiting from the experiences of those animals.
That's amazing. It's amazing, and it's fascinating how in today's world, I know there's a lot of talks with the NADs and all that stuff, which is working in different organisms, but transfer factors, it's kind of like a universal molecule, though found in different organisms like chicken and cow, but it does the same function in our body. And that's fascinating. That's pretty awesome because as we speak, there's people going spending hundreds, millions of millions in other discoveries, Well, Full Life has been at the forefront since '98. So that's pretty bold, but it's awesome that we're on the right side and on the frontier of this science, if you could say. So this is so awesome. Let's dive into. I know you have something you want to bring us. Those of you who are kind of like there biting their nails to see and know about the clinical studies that Dr. Brent's going to bring. Some powerful information. If you want to take notes, this is the time to take notes from Dr. Brent Vaughn. Go ahead, stage is yours, and just bring what you got.
Okay, so I'm just going to share a few slides and talk about some of the research that went into the Age Pro product in both in developing it and in studying the product as a whole. And so since we've kind of just talked about the transfer factor, we'll start off here and looking at what happens to an aging immune system, and in particular, what transfer factor can do for it. So I kind of wanted to point out a couple of things. On the left side here, you see young immune cells, and on the right are the older immune cells. If you look at the bottom of the chart, you'll see that the level of, listed here is threat readiness. We'll call it the level of activity for the immune system. In the younger group, it starts up higher, right? That bar is not all the way to the bottom of the chart. But as you get older, your immune system becomes less effective, and it doesn't have the same energy and isn't capable of the same effects as a younger immune system. But you add transfer factor to the mix. Now you look at the top of the chart here, and you'll see that it doesn't matter where you started. You end up in the same spot. So whether you're starting off with a relatively robust or strong immune system, or one that's a little bit older and potentially a little bit weaker, transfer factor is capable of boosting that immune system back up to a higher level of threat readiness. And it seems to be kind of age independent. So you're never too old to benefit from transfer factors. Let's go on to the next one here. There we go. So the next two slides deal with a study we did in worms. Now, this is a model that's been used to study aging for a long time. And I know worms and people are not the same, although some people, and they might be closer than others. But it turns out that worms are actually a pretty good model for aging. And the nice thing about them is 3 to 4 weeks is all they live. And so you can do little things, and within a month, you can see whether or not it makes a difference. And so it makes it really good and relatively inexpensive to test a number of different things and be able to see which things have a bigger impact on longevity. So in this particular case, you're looking at the results here for the Age Pro product in these worms. And the end result is you see a 22% increase in the number of worms surviving through to the end of the study. So in this case here, we're looking at 28 days is all we looked at them for. 28 or 22% more worms were alive at 28 days than the untreated ones. So there is a definite increase in lifespan associated with the Age Pro product. Now, I mentioned before, lifespan is great, but you've got to be able to enjoy those extra years that you get. So the other aspect of it is looking at these worms and how much they move. And so we can track their amount of activity throughout the whole time. And here we're just showing you the last week, basically, of their life. And you can see the worms that were treated with Age Pro were much more active than the untreated ones. In fact, at the end, they're more than twice as active as the untreated worms. So that way you're looking at what we call health span. So that's the quality of life at the end of life. So we're getting the two main effects there, showing both an increase in lifespan and an improvement in health span, all in one single product. And then lastly, this is a chart showing kind of before and after, as well as what happens to NAD levels as you age. So ignore the dots for a minute, and it doesn't really matter. The left and right are the same as far as the boxes go. But you can see as you age, there is a drop off, and it's pretty quick in the younger years. So once you get over 30, your NAD levels are pretty low, and that they're going to stay at that level for the most part for the rest of your life. So when you're teenagers, you've got quite a bit of NAD, and it drops off pretty quickly in the next 2 decades there. And so now if you look at the dots, you can see on the left-hand side, this is where everybody started with. And they were basically where you'd expect them to be for their age. All the dots are kind of inside the boxes. But after taking Age Pro for a few weeks, now you can see all the dots that have gone up, in some cases to levels higher than what you would anticipate for a teenager. So you're seeing those NAD levels go up to levels that they may not have seen since, they were still living with mom and dad. So this is some pretty good results showing, again, that Age Pro is able to kind of reverse one of the effects of aging in that it corrects, if you will, the NAD levels within it. And so there's a quick little rundown on some of the studies we've done with Age Pro. And like with anything else we have studied, if you go to our research and publications page, you can see that. And also there should be links to these at the bottom of the Age Pro page as well. And some of these are still kind of in the publication process, but as they get accepted and published, you'll see links show up for this research in those places. So there's a quick little synopsis of some of the studies we've done and some pretty cool stuff on a pretty cool product.
And we're just getting started. Because I know there's a lot of stuff going on behind, over there that we're not going to talk about now. But at convention, Dr. Vollmer was talking about we're going to be able to track, the bio-tracking with the immune system. That's further down. We were just last night we're talking about. I included that in one of the topics with Dr. Ronnie. She's a nutri doc, right? Nutrient doc, and she's amazing. And we're talking about. I mentioned how in 2018 they started having something called precision medicine, and this is something where they're going to find exactly what they need to treat certain people. Down the road, there's already devices that are going to help. And besides the glucose that came out, that people can use an app on their phone and check their glucose levels. Besides that, we're going to be able to know, how our immune system is functioning with the test of a saliva and probably just a print of your finger down the road. So that's pretty profound, pretty amazing what's happening. I'm glad to be alive at this time and be part of this. That's going to change a lot of people, a lot of lives. And I'm pretty sure that I know that not just we'll be able to see people age gracefully and feel vibrant and resilient, but this whole reprogramming, this is where it fascinates me even more, because it's not just a slowing of the process per se. No, you might slow it, but you're actually reprogramming many cells in our body. And in today's world, it's so important to reprogram our immune cells, because our immune cells are the ones responsible down the road to take care of you when you pass the 50 record. When you get to the 60s or 70s, it starts declining a bit, especially depending on the lifestyle you had before. It's gonna feel down the road. Now we have in our hands a way to stay vibrant, stay resilient, stay active. And I think that's one of the biggest, right now, because a lot of Gen Zs are talking about they don't want to age, but not because they don't want to age. It's because they fear being frail. They fear being that. I don't want to go to. I've heard these kids talking about, I don't want to be in doctor's appointments all the time. People having to take me. I don't want to be in a wheelchair. And that pops a question like, wow, are people actually concerned about aging now more than ever? The answer is yes, obviously, but how much are we putting in, and how much of the stuff are we going to be able to be responsible for? Okay, I'm putting this type of action, I'm putting this in my body so I can get a better results down the road. And we have what the world needs. I guess David Lisenby put us a little challenge, reaching 3 million families by 2030. I think that mark will be way before, because we are working steadily and hard. But what we have in our hands, that should be done within 2 years or 3, because what we have is profound. It's big. It's huge, and I'm just excited. I'm honored to be part of this history in the rewriting and be part of this change-making generation that is actually helping people feel and live better. And I'm honored to be able to be on here tonight with you, Dr. Brent, picking your brains and learning a lot from you. You're such an incredible man. And I've been involved with For Life since 2014. and I've always seen you the same. Like ever since I've seen you, like, dude, like I'm aging. I have a 7-year-old grandson, but you're the same ever since I saw you. Like something's going on in there. So I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for pouring your heart, for being an incredible, not just a doctor, but an incredible friend, reaching out, replying to my messages, though you're busy, and being on here tonight. So it's been an incredible time. It's a pleasure to have the discussion with you. And we're looking forward to have you down the road. I'll give you a heads up so we can actually talk about some other stuff. I would like to bring also Nathan. Um, There's a question. It's Age Pro recommended. Wait, for what? Age Pro recommended for long term, or should we take breaks in taken needed?
As long as you're aging, I would continue to take it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, here we go. Let's give it up for Dr. Brent Vaughn. As you know, we're avoiding a biological apocalypse with the H Pro. You're going to be able to age resilient, be vibrant, stay healthy. But overall, you may not even have to go vaxxed to the future because you're going to be able to stay healthy, regenerating and reprogramming your immune system. Let's light up this screen with fire emojis. Remember, this is just the beginning of what's going to happen. You are being part of history being rewritten, and you have in your hands the power to go change your life. Don't fear to talk about. Talk with confidence, with boldness, because what we have is clinical studies. It's not no bluff, and it's what the world needs. All right. Thank you, Dr. Brent Vaughn. Such an amazing night, enlightening as always. Stay healthy, stay informed, stay young, stay vibrant, and overall, stay aging pro, man. Have an incredible one. Longevity Talks. It's your Jersey boy and Dr. Brent Vaughn. Hopefully, we'll see you one day in Utah, and I'll go take you to Pat's Barbecue, and we'll go spend some time.
I'll go.
Thank you. Thank
Nice
you.
choice.
Have a great one.
Have a good evening. Thanks, everyone.
All right, there you go. Hope you found some value. And if you did, share in the comments which part got your attention the most. And now more than ever, we'll be able to use the Hebrew blessing, Ad Me'ad Versum Shana. May you live to 120.